Oh. Okay.
Mrs. Orr, are we all set, or are we still
I
getting
think we're all
connected?
set. Do we have, I'm looking for Rosemary.
I'm here.
I see
Okay,
Rose.
there you are. Okay, just checking. And I think you're our only speaker, and then I see Ms. Viola and I see Mrs. Vacancy. So we're set to go.
Okay.
Okay, please stand for the pledge. I call the special meeting for the purpose of the board vacancy on Monday, April 20th, 2020 to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Ms. Cruz? Sarah Cruz.
Sarah, you're on mute.
Yes. Yes,
Sarah?
present.
Oh, okay. Ms. Fox? Okay.
On mute.
I'm trying. Oh, geez. Present.
Okay. Ms. Hume?
Mute.
Mute.
I cannot.
Okay, there we go. I hear you, Ms. Director Hume.
Thank you. Also, you have stopped my video, Virginia.
Yeah, I don't know why the video is not showing. I don't know, maybe,
It tells me,
Okay,
it tells me
we
that
need to
you
hold,
have stopped
please,
it.
for a moment.
yeah.
We have a few, I'm getting a message that Mr. Audi cannot get into the meeting.
Or I can't get in either.
Okay.
Okay, let's see where we are here.
Yeah, Ginny, I can see Ms. Viola's picture and you live, and everything else is dark.
Yeah.
Everything else is just names.
Yeah,
Yeah, it said it's disabled by the host video.
let's see here. I'm wondering why Tara can't get on.
Jenny, I don't see her in the attendees list.
I don't either.
I did. I saw it a minute ago. Yeah, I can pull it up on my phone. I tried using other devices to get in tonight and I couldn't do it.
We're aware that everyone's screen is black. I'm getting messages.
Yes.
I-
Yes, I'm sorry, Ginny. I didn't realize you were on that thread. So everybody, please just
Oh,
hold a moment.
No, it wasn't you. It was someone else.
Well, then I'll just say again, everyone, please hold a moment.
Sorry, Ginny.
That's okay. So, Mr. Delpreet, are you here? Okay, so there may only be
Sorry, Jenny, I'm
at a
trying to get a
time.
hold of your phone.
Hello.
Okay, wait, here's Tara. She's in attendees.
Is this live on Facebook too?
No,
Can you hear me now, Jenny?
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Yep,
Okay, good. Thank you.
I saw your name pop up in attendees. Now we're just waiting for Mr. Audi.
I had to re-put in my email and everything. It was kind of
Yeah.
bizarre.
I did too.
I
Oh,
did.
you did too. Okay.
And now I can't, and
Is this, Virginia, is this live on Facebook?
no,
No, it's not yet. No.
Sorry, I thought I heard someone say no. I couldn't tell.
I'm gonna see if I can jump on here.
looking like we probably won't have video for everybody except for Ginny.
well, that's not going to work.
Okay, let me see here.
Stop. Yep. What did I say?
Okay, I see the problem here, Bill. The video on the panelist is off.
You got it?
It's on my settings, it's off, so
Will you
I'm-
turn it back on, please?
Join.
Oh
Enter
my God.
meeting ID, which is 390.
Ms. Gilmartin,
She's Katie.
Yes.
Katie, is it possible to run this without the video for the attendees?
No.
Without the video for the attendees,
Well, I mean, is it possible just to run this as with voice?
I would prefer not to. I think, I mean, I think if we have to, I would like Mr. Audi to be on the call before we make that decision. He can't seem to get in. I have him on the phone here.
I would object strenuously.
Okay. Let's just take a minute and try to figure this out, please.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you know.
Nobody's seeing me.
Does anyone see Mr. Audi?
Because this is where I normally am until someone lets me in.
Okay.
It says your meeting should start in a few seconds.
John, Tara just wrote back and said that she had to re-enter her email address to get in. And
Hello, can anyone see me, Mr. Delpreet?
I can
Yes.
see you, Bill.
Yes.
Okay, the individual panelists, can you start your own video now?
No,
Won't let us.
won't let us.
May I ask what exactly it says?
Host has stopped it.
Hmm.
You can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
Here I am.
Ms. Hume,
Yes.
could you please try to start your video now?
Yes.
Give me a second to get everybody turned on here.
I can't start my video.
Oh, I see what you're doing, Bill.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. I think we got just about everybody. If you would please try to enable your video now. If I missed anyone, please let me know. Gianni, Mrs. Cruz, Mrs. McTiernan. Let's see. Mr. Doherty, you should be able to attach now. Let's see, Mrs. Welby. Mrs. Welby, you should be able to get on now.
Yep. Thank you.
Hey, there's Mr. Audi.
We found him.
Mr. Audi, you should be able to turn your video on as well. Mrs. Cruz, you should be able to get on now. Let's see. Ms.
John Audi,
Viola?
are we able to hear you now?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, well, I lost 5 pounds sweating.
Well, I ate a cookie while I was waiting, so I gained your 5 pounds, John.
I'm jealous.
I just want to apologize for all of this. This is something we had to do in order to keep out the unwanted guests. So anyone who's very upset about that, I apologize.
No.
Unless we
That's
want
all
to
right.
have some pornography on the screen.
And are we streaming to Facebook or to YouTube at this time?
Currently, no.
Can we?
That's next on my list, Mrs.
Okay,
Gilmartin.
very good. Thank you.
All right. Jenny, are we missing anyone?
I think we just need to finish roll call whenever Ms. Gilmartin is ready. We'll start over.
Shall we just begin roll call again, please? And
Hello?
I think we should point out for the
Hello?
record, that we were able to start this meeting on time. We just
Hello?
ran into some technical difficulties.
That's right. Okay.
Unavoidable.
We not have to wait for it to stream to start?
Are we? Yes, if we can. Bill, are we able to stream? You're working on that now?
Yeah, just give me a second, please.
Okay, take your time.
It looks like it's streaming now on YouTube.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
we're starting it. Let's hopefully the stream maintains its integrity this time.
Are we waiting on Facebook also, or are we just going? with-
I'm sorry, we have to do either or, so we're
Okay.
doing.
That's fine, as long as we have one. Yes, it is. Very good. Okay, so shall we try again? Roll call, Mrs. Orr.
Okay, Ms. Cruz,
Present.
Ms. Fox,
Present.
Ms. Hume,
Present.
Mr. Malloy,
Present.
Mr. McAndrew,
Present.
Mrs. Welby. Present. Ms. Yanni,
Present.
Ms. Gilmartin,
Present.
8 present.
Very good. The purpose of this special meeting is for the board vacant seat and has been duly advertised. Before we begin, Mr. Audi, you have a few points you will clarify for us?
Yes, this position that we will be appointing this evening, if the votes are, we get a majority vote, it will be filled upon appointment tonight, and it will hold until December of 2021, which is immediately following the November election. At that point, whoever wins the November election and gets appointed in December will hold that position for the duration of this vacant term that we are filling this evening, which is Tom Schuster's vacancy. That will hold through until 2023, because it's a 4-year term. So are there any questions on the duration of this seat that we're filling this evening? Okay,
I think we're all clear on that. Thank you.
you're welcome. Is there anything else that you want to address?
We are going to sequester the candidates, but we can get to that after public comment.
Okay.
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 I believe we have one. Did somebody else have something to say? I'm sorry. No. I believe we have one speaker this evening, correct, Mrs. Orr?
We have one speaker, correct. Rosemary?
Yes, I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And I'm not excited about the fact that John sweated a little bit. That's good for everybody. But I don't recommend cookies at this point in time. So the reason I asked to speak this evening is part of what John Audi just talked about. I'm very, very concerned about the fact that we're going to have 4 people appointed to seats on a school board that's elected by the city, by the citizens of the city of Scranton. It's been a big concern of mine ever since Mr. Schuster was elected to a 2- and 4-year seat. We had to appoint someone for the 2-year seat. Now we're appointing for a 4-year seat, and as Mr. Audi just clarified. And it seems to me that this has to start to be taken more seriously. If you're going to run for election and you want to be elected to a government seat, whether it's a school board seat or a city council or whatever it's called, there has to be a desire that you're actually going to do the job and stay with the job for the duration of the term, because this is becoming more and more the usual rather than the unusual, and it's very disturbing. We're in recovery. You had a school board session about 2 weeks ago now, and we didn't finish that meeting until 20 minutes of 1 in the morning. So a meeting starts on one day and ends on another. And I think we would all agree that when 400 some people wanted to speak, they had no opportunity to do it. And it was all about a very serious issue, serious to all of us. And that is preschool in our district. We're still not satisfied with the decisions. And as they were made, we're certainly not pleased with the way the decisions were made. And I would like to suggest to everybody on the board that some of you who declared that it was transparent, the point of fact is you would have had to recuse yourselves on the vote because you have a direct connection with some of the other entities that you're talking about. And I think you all recognize that. So had there been a vote, several of you would have had to recuse. And I think these are the kinds of issues that we have to be very, very concerned about. And I know I'm concerned, my membership is fully concerned, and I hope the people in the city are concerned. This just cannot keep going on and on and on. And that is my concern this evening. I do want to express my appreciation for the 2 people who did put their name in to participate with the board. That takes a lot of courage and commitment. And I'm certainly hopeful that we do get someone who is fully committed to serve out this term. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you, Kate.
We are going to ask that our candidates leave the room at this time. And Mr. Rowdy, would you touch on that, please?
Yeah, I will, President Gilmartin.
Thank you.
These are, as Rosemary Boland just said, these are very unusual times. And we're going to ask you to leave the room, and we're going to interview you one at a time. We're going to go on the honor system. We don't know any other way to do this. So the person I believe we're going to go in alphabetical order to start the interview process. So that means, I think Ms. Dempsey will be going first, and Ms. Viola will go second. We would ask Ms. Viola if, while you're waiting, not to tune in to the webinars to witness the interview questions or answers, because we believe that would give you an advantage, having seen and heard the questions and heard the answers. So,
did you want me to leave the call and then log back in?
How are we going?
I could do that, and I think that could be easier
That's
because then
probably the best
you
way
could
to
actually
do it.
see that I'm off.
Okay, but it's also being simulcast. And I'm just going to ask you not to go look at it's on YouTube and it's on some other streaming channel. We're going to ask you for, as an honor system, just not to watch. We would appreciate that.
Okay. How many minutes should I?
Well, perhaps we can.
Is there a way to just put her back in the waiting room so that she doesn't necessarily
I
have
think
to?
there should be. Bill, is Bill on?
This is a webinar, not a
should be a
regular
breakout
meeting. There isn't a waiting room.
There's no waiting room here.
No.
All right. Well, then I would ask you to leave, and I guess with the same link. Would that work? Let's get some technical assistance here.
That will work, Mr. Rowdy.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds good then.
Mrs. Orr, we do have Ms. Viola's contact information, correct? So you could call her or email her when it's time for her to sign back in.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
I can do that.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
We'll see you in a few minutes. They even made a nice little song.
Katie,
So, yes.
just before we start the interview, Ms. Bolden raised a very interesting question, and I know exactly what it was aimed at. The appearance of conflicts of interest when in fact none exist. Where she was talking about people should have had to recuse from votes had votes been taken. We all know what that was aimed at. I'm wondering whether we should expand on that conflict of interest question, Mr. Orty, just to make sure that, for instance, the rule of one and other things.
Okay. Yes.
Because it is not comfortable. It is not a comfortable position for any board member to find themselves in.
Yes. I think the question that would be asked, I think, in this situation, because I have obviously reviewed the.
John, may I interrupt? I'm sorry. Didn't Ms. Viola log off?
Yes.
She did.
So,
Yes.
shouldn't we be having this conversation with her logged on?
Should this
Or
be?
should we just do it separately with each one of them?
Thank you, Jimmy. I actually was wondering, is this something that should be on the question?
Perhaps. I just think that Ms. Viola deserves to be on to hear the same thing that Mrs. Dempsey is hearing.
Yes.
Yeah, on the question works, I think.
Yes.
I'm sorry for interrupting, John.
Thank you, Jimmy. You feel that we're okay with that? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I just muted myself. I'm sorry. So, Mrs. Dempsey, thank you for joining us this evening. You have 2 minutes to introduce yourself, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions for you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, members of the Scranton School Board. My name is Michelle Dempsey. I'm a mother of 4 children currently enrolled in the Scranton School District, and I am the wife of a dedicated math teacher at West Scranton High School. I've lived in the Hill section with my family for the last 14 years. My children attend Prescott Elementary, and my 2 older children attend Northeast Intermediate School. Beginning this fall, I will have a freshman at Scranton High. As well as being a full-time mom, I've also worked in the online education industry for the last 17 years. My undergrad is in marketing from Bloomsburg University, and I have a master's certificate in business intelligence from Villanova. I began my career in marketing, developing advertisements, social media marketing, working with multi-million-dollar marketing budgets. My love of data and statistical analysis afforded me the opportunity to move under IT, where I've been for the last 9 years as a senior business intelligence specialist. I curate student-centric data that empower our education and our student advocate groups to make decisions on intervention points to help students progress through their exams and also to improve our graduation rates. I work closely with our regulatory team as well, curating outcomes assessment data required by our various accrediting bodies. I've worked with the Prescott Elementary PTA. I was treasurer on the executive board, and I've also attended school board meetings and work sessions where at times I felt compelled to speak about issues facing the district, which is why I took the next step to apply for this open board seat. I feel very strongly about becoming more deeply involved. I am completely vested in this district. I have 4 children, kindergarten through 8th grade. My husband has taught in this district for 17 years. I promise to operate with respect, integrity, transparency, which I think should be expected of all public servants. And ultimately, I want to be an advocate for change that will lead this Scranton School District through the recovery plan. It's going to be difficult, but that recovery plan should hopefully provide a solid footing on which the district can build. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Mr.
I'm
McKeon.
Italian, so I speak 5 million miles an hour, and I'm sorry.
You fit a lot into a short period of time, which is a good skill.
Look, you combine nervous, excited, and Italian, and forget it.
Well, thank you. Mr. McAndrew, we'll start with you since you're the top of the screen here.
Sure. I guess the only question I really have is, what made you go for the appointment this time?
Oddly enough, to speak up, and for me, it was about taking that next step. Like I said, I felt a little empowered at the last meeting, at the last work session, I should say, because it was like, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could be a part of this change, and the recovery process is going to be difficult. But if I can be a part of the post-recovery process and work towards developing the 5 years that, we have to define to the PDE and say, this is where we're going to go from here. I feel like that just was exciting to me, and I just wanted to be a part of it. And the dynamic on the board feels different than prior boards. And so for me, it felt like the right time.
Thank you.
Ms. Hume?
I think you're muted, Ro.
Okay.
There you go.
Ms. Dempsey, what do you believe you would bring to this board in your skills, accomplishments, and relationships within the community that would complement the existing board members rather than just simply be a reinforcement of the board members that we have at the moment?
Sure. I mean, obviously, I feel like I have a background in online in education, period. I work with student outcomes, I work with graduation rates, but I think the most impact that I would have would be from the perspective of the student experience in the classroom. I've worked with my children, again, it's kindergarten, fourth grade, sixth grade, eighth grade. I've had experience with the curriculum that they've worked with. I've worked with their teachers. So I feel like I kind of bring that perspective of across multiple levels of academics. So I have that elementary experience, the middle school experience, and then hopefully, well, next year I'll have that high school level where I might be able to bring a different perspective to the board as a parent with that analytical viewpoint that I do in my day-to-day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Yanni.
Hi, Mrs. Dempsey. Can you hear me? This is Tara Yanni.
Yes. Hi, Tara.
Hi. First of all, thank you for stepping up and for applying for this position at this time. This is a difficult way to do it, so thank you.
Look at my cheeks. I'm like so nervous.
Mrs. Dempsey, what do you feel are the top priorities of the Scranton School District at this time?
The priorities of the district?
Yes.
Obviously, we're in recovery. We have to prove that we're fiscally responsible. We have to get to financial solvency. We have to figure out a way to move forward and implement the recovery plan thoughtfully. So with that said, we also have to be willing to look at the big picture and what we're doing with recovery and how the plan that we're implementing, how is it going to impact us when we are going to be in post-recovery? Are we setting a foundation on which we can build? And I think that that is probably one of the most paramount issues facing the district right now in terms of not just what are we doing right now, but looking to 5 years from now, that 5-year plan of, how are we going to continue this progress, this forward motion, and how are we going to maintain fiscal responsibility and rebuild our reputation in the community?
Thank you. And then just one quick follow-up to Sean's question. I think he was going to ask this. Would you consider running for the position at the term of this seat?
Yep. Yes, absolutely. As long as, with a caveat, as long as I have the blessing from my children and my husband, that's it. I would definitely do it.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Fox.
Okay. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Okay, so my question is, make sure I read it correctly. So to your knowledge, how do the roles and responsibilities of a school board director alter when a district is in recovery like the Scranton School District is?
Well, it depends on the severity. We are in moderate recovery status, so we do have a little bit more flexibility than some of the other districts that I'm familiar with, Reading School District being one of them. They were in severe recovery. So we have a little bit more insight into maybe working with Dr. Finan. She seems to be very receptive to some ideas that we might have, but ultimately, right now, our role is to work with Dr. Finan to implement the recovery plan and to see it through so that we can get to a place where we're financially solvent, that we've brought up our scores in terms of the state testing so that we're not below the state average, that we show academic progress. And so I think ultimately, right now, immediately, that's what this board is going to do. But I also believe that this board is going to ultimately be responsible for developing that, as I mentioned before, that 5-year post-recovery plan. So we have to be conscious of the future of the district as well as the current recovery.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Welby.
Hi, Mrs. Dempsey.
Hi.
What do you believe would be your biggest challenge as a board member?
That's a really great question. My biggest challenge as a board member would probably be learning all of the ins and outs of what it takes to be a board member. I've attended, ultimately, I can make an educated decision that I have the data and I have the information available so that I can lay my head on my pillow at night and know that I made a sound decision based on data and fact, then that'll be okay. But ultimately, I think sometimes making the decision's easy, but living with the decision can be a little bit difficult. But I think that's something that you have to face in life anyway. And so I'm prepared for that.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Cruz?
Thank you, Ms. Gilmartin. Good evening, Mrs. Dempsey. I just want to thank you for your willingness to step forward at this time in our district history. So my question is, do you believe board decisions should be made based on data and research, or sentimentality and public opinion, or a combination of both?
I am a data girl. I inherently, that's what I am. I research. So for example, any decision that I do have family in administration in the Conrad Weiser School District. So I have actually picked his brain on different things about positive things that we could do in the district. So I am more fact-based. My husband will tell you that I can be a little stubborn. So I tend to, I hear what people have to say, and I by no means would be turned off by somebody voicing their opinion. That's what democracy is about. I would listen and I would engage them. And as long as it was respectful communication, and that there was, it's not my way or the highway, it's my, this is my approach, this is how you should handle it. I think that, again, it's kind of a mixture of both. You want to listen to what your constituents, what their needs and wants are, but at the same time, you have to make decisions that are responsible. And so those decisions come from listening, but also knowing the facts, having the information, and being able to make educated decisions.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Dempsey. We will throw you out of here as well and let you know when you're allowed back in.
All right, Virginia, do you have my cell phone, or should I just?
Did you send it to me in an email?
I'll email it to you, just in case, because I don't
And then I'll
remember.
call you right back when it's over.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks,
All right,
Michelle.
bye. Okay, I can call Ms. Viola now, right?
Yes, please.
John, before we vote, I'm going to ask you about that conflict of interest and her husband working in the district.
That's fine.
John, do you think it should be on the question, or would you like to address it when they both come back into the room before we know on whom we're voting?
I think the way we're going to vote, I think it needs to be done before on the question.
Okay. So before Mrs. Orr gives us the results of
I
the
think so.
first round of vote, we'll address that.
I think so.
But both candidates will be in the room
Yes.
when we address it.
That was a good point, Jim.
Okay. Thank you.
While we're waiting for Ms. Viola, Sean, were you okay with me following up on your question there?
Yeah, that's fine. I kind of forgot about that part.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'll let you ask Ms. Viola.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I'm here.
Viola audio.
Yes,
Can
you hear me?
join with video?
Yes, it's telling me that I can't start my video. Oh, there we go. Okay.
There you go. We see you now. Thank you very much. We appreciate your patience in this process here. And Ms. Viola, you have 2 minutes to introduce yourself. And then we have 6 directors who will ask you a question each.
Okay. Good evening, school board directors. Thank you so much for taking the opportunity to interview me and giving me this opportunity. My name is Amber Viola. I am currently a student at Marywood University. I will be graduating next month. And in the summer, I'm going on to get my master's degree in social work. Before that, I was in the United States Navy and I served for 8 years. And we worked 24-hour shifts. So normally there was only one instructor to every 600 students. While I was in the military, I really learned that I had a heart for service and I really wanted to serve my community. I became a victim advocate and I started working with sexual assault victims. And for me, that just showed how much of an impact everyone has on each other. We're here in a city, and if certain people are struggling and hurting, it affects everybody else. And that's something that I really learned while I was in the military. I have a 3-year-old daughter, so she will be starting preschool here this year. And I remember growing up, my mother was really involved in my education and coaching teams, athletic director. I want to be that for my daughter. I want to be involved in her schooling and make sure that she has a good education, and also be involved for the sake of the community, and just to be an example for them also, so that they can see somebody who looks like me and think, one day I can do this if I push on and keep learning and keep getting my education. I love this city and it's been amazing for me. I went to the University of Scranton, now I'm going to Marywood. It's done a lot for my life, and I really want to do the same thing for the younger generation of kids. I hope that they have the same experience that I do, and I want to help impact that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. McAndrew.
All right, hello. First, I want to thank you for your service. I have a 2-part question. The first one is, this time around, why did you apply for the opening? And also, would you be willing to run after the appointment ends?
So yes, I would be willing to run in the future for the next appointment. I don't plan on going anywhere. Like I said, I'm gonna be 3-year-old daughter, and I was planning on enrolling her into school here, and I was actually really excited about it. And I started just doing my homework as a mom, same opportunities that I do. And like I said, I want to serve. I work with a lot of veterans in our local community. And for me, I'm a mother too, and a veteran and a social worker. So all 3 of those things kind of rolled up into one is why I decided to apply for this appointment.
Forward and putting your hat in the ring for this circus job.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask you, what particularly amongst your skills and accomplishments and your own self and your character do you feel would complement the existing members of this board as we are? What addition do you make that would be unique?
I think that I could bring a different perspective to the school board, just being an African-American woman, also being a single mother. I'm raising a daughter of my own, and that goes with itself, has a special set of circumstances and challenges and triumphs and victories. And I think that is definitely a voice that needs to be heard in our area, because there are people who are just like me out here. And a lot of times you don't get to see that. Also, being a social worker in an urban school district, a low income school district, I definitely think that set of skills would definitely come and help.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mrs. Yanni.
Hi, Ms. Viola. First, I'd like to say also thank you for stepping up at this time. It's not an easy way to do this, so thank you for taking this on. My question is, what do you feel are the top priorities, or what is the top priority, top issues facing the Scranton School District right now?
So aside from obviously the challenges we're facing right now with COVID-19, I think that we have old infrastructure that we've seen kind of crumbling and falling apart with the asbestos and lead issues that we have. And graduation rates have fallen. And I think that's something that's really important to me, is really how do we get high schoolers engaged to the point where they want to stay in school and they want to graduate, and then also go on and go to college here and stay here and become like amazing members of, Scranton society. Another thing that for me is I really want more social workers to be involved, especially because there's not as much parental engagement as I think, we would all like to see with a lot of the younger kids in elementary schools. And a lot of those students, I think it's like 80% are considered, like poverty level students and stuff like that. They're considered at a disadvantage. And that's something that really concerns me, because for those students, education sadly isn't going to be the first thing that's on their mind when they're coming into school in the morning. It's going to be survival. It's going to be, where can I get warm? Where can I take a nap because I didn't get to sleep? Where can I eat? Maybe where can I get a coat if my house doesn't really have heat or anything like that? Those are all concerns that those students are facing. So education for them is not the first need. And that's a sad thing to say, because education is really important, but that's something that I feel really strongly about, because I think once we start to answer the questions of survival and food and different things like that, I think that the education will definitely come next, and it will be easier to keep those kids engaged. So those are the top issues that I think that for me personally are facing our school district.
Thank you. Ms. Fox?
Okay, I never know if I'm muted or not, sorry. Hello, so to your knowledge, how do the roles and responsibilities of a school board director alter when a district is in recovery, like the Scranton School District is?
So from what I've read and heard from the very informative school board session that was on, is that you guys work underneath Dr. Finan. Am I saying her name right? And so she's kind of in charge and in control, and she has the final say to things. So as a board, you guys kind of collectively are following along with the recovery plan with her, but amendments can be made. She has to approve them and be on board with them, but there is ways for everybody kind of to be involved. If we do not follow the recovery plan, then it kind of goes into a receivership to where there is no more board, has no say. We lose our contracts in the school district, and everything is definitely then under like state jurisdiction and things like that. And you lose that local ability to really have a say in kind of what is going on.
Great, thank you.
Mrs. Welby?
Hello. Thank you for hanging in there with us. What do you believe would be your biggest challenge as a board member?
My biggest challenge would be the same challenge that I face with every endeavor that I ever choose to conquer, is bringing my three-year-old along with me, because I'm a single mother. So for me, balancing my schedule and her schedule and daycare and sitters, I think that would be my biggest challenge. Also would just be the learning curve. Would be something new for me, so I would definitely have to learn and research and get advice from all of you, and be willing to take that upon myself and really sit and study to make sure that I know what I'm doing. I think those would be the two biggest challenges.
Thank you.
And Ms. Cruz?
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Thank you, Ms. Viola, for applying for this vacancy at this time. My question is, do you believe board decisions should be made based on data and research, or sentimentality and public opinion, or a combination of both?
I think it has to be a combination of both. You can look at numbers, but numbers don't tell the whole story. That's why qualitative research is so important, because you need to hear the stories behind the numbers. Numbers can paint a picture, but they don't give into all the little nuances and different things like that. So I definitely think data is important and numbers are important, because you need those to create some type of action plan to really move forward. But in order to sometimes conquer those challenges, you have to know what the underlying issues are. So a big task. So I definitely think it's a little bit of both.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Viola.
Thank you.
We are going to ask you once again to leave the room. and we will be back to you shortly.
Okay, so leave the call again?
Yes, please.
Okay,
I'm
thank
sorry
you.
this is so complicated. Usually we
It's
just send you
okay. We're
down to
all
the hallway. You can go stand in your own hallway if you'd like, I suppose. Thank you very much. We'll be in touch in a minute.
Thank you.
Okay. So at this time, we will text our choice to Mrs. Orr, and she will share it as she always does with Mr. Doherty and understand that when both candidates are back in the room.
Okay.
Okay?
Mhm.
So colleagues, text away.
Do we not, is there not an on the question after the candidates make their presentations? Did I misunderstand that?
There is an on the question when we essentially nominate the first person. That's we put our short. Sure.
Okay, one more. Okay. I just need to check my tally here with my peeps. Okay.
Tariani was dropped off. She needs to be re-added.
Yes, thank you.
Tara was added, period.
Thank you.
Okay, we're all in favor.
Mrs. Orr, when you're ready, would you invite the candidates back into the room before you announce?
Okay, I'm going to just mute myself here and call them.
Thank you.
Hi, Michelle, can you sign back on, please? Do we have Ms. Viola? Okay.
Hi, Virginia. It's Michelle. I'm here. I'm unable to start my video.
Okay. I think.
Okay, we have you both back now. Thank you very much. And Mrs. Welby, I believe you have a question.
Mr. Audi, can you just provide some clarification for us? I know Mrs. Dempsey's husband is a teacher in the district, and we just want to clarify that as to whether it's a conflict of interest or not.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Okay. There was absolutely no conflict of interest with Ms. Dempsey serving as a board member while her spouse is employed as a teacher. The only conflict that would is if other board members' ability to speak freely. But other than that, it's perfectly legitimate and has been approved by the Ethics Commission for a spouse to sit on a board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with that, Mrs. Orr, can you please tell us the tally of the first round?
The tally is 6 for Mrs. Dempsey and 2 for Ms. Viola.
And may I have a motion, please, for Mrs. Dempsey?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
May I have a second? On the question?
On the question, I want to thank both Mrs. Dempsey and Ms. Viola for their willingness to step forward at this crucial time in our district. I've said that since the time that we were elected, and we've been doing vacancies, but this really is a critical time in our district and in our world. I nominated Ms. Viola because not only does she possess the intelligence, knowledge, and partiality needed at this time, but in a district where more than half of our students come from culturally diverse backgrounds, and many students have experienced or are experiencing some form of trauma, I believe her personal and professional attributes will bring a much needed perspective to this board and will allow students to begin to see themselves reflected in their district's leadership. For this reason, I will be voting no on this nomination. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, on the question, I don't know. I know Mrs. Dempsey. I don't know Ms. Viola, except from what I've learned from the materials that were shared and from your presentation tonight. And I would ask you, please consider when there is an opening or when at the next election of putting yourself forward again. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would echo what Jimmy said. Please consider running at the next election. You would be a great candidate.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Hume, it seems like you're speaking, but you're muted. Ro, are you speaking to us or someone at home?
Yes, I am speaking to you.
Okay,
And
there you
it
go.
says I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I think we have two absolutely outstanding candidates here. I will be voting. I think Mrs. Dempsey will bring a great deal to the board, but I will be voting no on the candidate because I think as a board we have passed up an opportunity. In my memory of the 8 years I've lived in Scranton, the first opportunity we've had to add a member to this board that brings diversity and can represent, as she herself said in her presentation, an underrepresented group of people in this district. We are a district with a heavy African American presence. I think Ms. Viola is an outstanding candidate, as is Mrs. Dempsey. I have no problem with Mrs. Dempsey, but I think we as a board have, to some extent, ignored the possibility of what Ms. Viola could have brought as a perspective for our minority students. And with no personal wish at all, I will be voting no on this nomination.
Thank you. Anyone else? Amber, I just have to say, I echo what Ms. Cruz said, what Mr. Malloy said, what Mrs. Welby said, and I mean no disrespect to Mrs. Dempsey, but I have to tell you that twice before I have felt the way I felt when you were speaking this evening and thought this community needs to get to know you. You need to run. You need to learn all there is to learn about this district, and the citizens in this community need to have the opportunity to talk with you and learn everything that you bring to the table, and you need to learn everything they have to offer as well. And I will tell you, the two women who made me feel that way are on this board. So I certainly hope we will see your name. Wish you all the best. You did a beautiful job tonight. You both did, but thank you so much both for coming forward. It was an absolute pleasure. So with that, roll call, please, Mrs. Orr.
Ms. Fox?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Ms. Hume?
No.
Mr. Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mrs. Welby?
Yes.
Mrs. Yanni?
I just want to clarify, we made the motion and seconded it to appoint Michelle Dempsey, right? So
Yes.
My vote is yes. Okay.
Ms. Cruz?
No.
Ms. Gamartin?
Yes.
6 affirmative, 2 negative, motion passes.
Congratulations.
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 Thank you.
Congratulations, Michelle.
Thank you again, Amber. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for this opportunity. And I really, really appreciate all the kind words. Definitely taking it to heart. Thank you so much.
Good. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
soon.
Thank you, Ms. Viola.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Audi, you're up.
Okay, well, I'm about to do something that I've become very experienced at doing. I'm going to administer the Board of School Directors oath of office for the Scranton School District to Ms. Michelle Dempsey. So, Ms. Dempsey, if you would repeat after me, and if you'd care to raise your right hand, you could be sworn in. I, Michelle Dempsey,
I, Michelle Dempsey,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
Welcome, Michelle.
yes,
Thank you.
and with that, may I have
Martin.
yes, what do you need? Sorry.
Mrs. Dempsey needs the link for the training.
Yes, we
Okay.
we'll send that to her. I will.
Okay.
We'll be back in touch with you in a moment, Michelle.
Okay.
Fun never ends here at the Scranton School Board.
You have to stay for the next meeting now. They throw that right on you. Don't know, right, Jimmy?
It's
Like,
true.
sit down, stay for the 3-hour meeting. So here you go.
That's great.
Brief
Careful
drink.
what you wish
Don't
for.
worry. Don't worry.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second?
Oh,
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All in
all right.
favor?
Aye.
Hi,
Okay, thank you
Good night,
very much.
everybody.
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.